Hello and welcome back. I wanted to make y'all another video that briefly walks through what you're going to be doing in Module 1 for both the 101 and O12 classes so that you got a sense of kind of the big picture of the next 4 weeks and how to plan your time accordingly. So, you have already read the instructions for your first major writing assignment for the course. That was something you needed to do for week 1. And your first major writing assignment for the semester is called a literacy narrative. So writing experiences are a little bit different than essays, but they also share some similarities. They're not as long as what we would typically expect from a traditional essay, though they do have to be multiple paragraphs. So looking at the instructions for this, which the instructions are going to be the same kind of setup for writing experiences and essays. So the purpose, the task, and the criteria for success. So the purpose of this, as you've read, is that you're going to tell a story, an autobiographical story, meaning it's from your life, that focuses on a personal experience that you've had with literacy, which we typically think of that in terms of reading, writing, stuff like that. But for this class, we're also going to include really any new skill in that. So a sport, musical instrument, maybe you started a new job and had to learn how to do a particular thing, like you became a sandwich artist at Subway and had to learn how to quickly put together the various subs, which always seem a little daunting to me, but they clearly have it well in hand. So anything really, any kind of new skill. And the focus of this narrative, the story that you're going to tell, is going to be the moment where everything finally clicked for you and everything came together, the kind of aha moment, the, okay, I get it, or hey, I feel like I'm really good at this now and I can do this. So that's always a process. That's always, there's a story behind what led up to that moment. And I want you to tell me that story. So you're going to write a multi-paragraph response that tells the story of a time when learning a new skill, everything came together and suddenly made sense for you. So like it says, I'm not going to read everything word for word, but the good storytelling does not happen by accident. Bad storytelling can happen by accident for sure, but good storytelling, not so much. It is a combination of substance and style. And it is all about focusing on what your audience needs from you, the storyteller, in order to not only understand the basics, to be able to follow along, but also enjoy the experience of hearing your story. So there's a lot of course content in this module that is designed to help you with the skill of being an effective storyteller. And so it's really important that you follow along with that course content and apply it as you are working. So we'll look at that stuff in just a minute. So the criteria for success, these are kind of the particulars, the specifics. It's pretty clear about what your thesis statement needs to say. You're going to directly answer the question. What was the moment you learned a new skill? Pretty straightforward. So I need to know the skill and I need to know when you learned it. And then you're going to elaborate on that with specific examples, details, help me visualize the experience. You also need to provide some background information in your introduction that helps me understand kind of the context for all this, gets me up to speed on things, understand the struggles, the challenges that you were facing at that time in learning the skill. Again, it has to be organized, not like a full 5-paragraph essay, but introduction, body, conclusion. So that's really a minimum of 3 paragraphs. And your word count, it's not very long, 400 to 500 words. You can refer to yourself in the first person. Actually, you really have to. Telling a story about yourself in the third person is strange and unnerving. So since it's about you, you should talk about yourself. However, you should not talk about me. So second person you is me. I'm the one reading it. So when you use you, you're talking about me. And I wasn't there, so don't talk about me. If that's a habit you slide into, which a lot of people do, I highly recommend the Control F search hack for that, the keystroke. If you do Control F, you can pull up a search and it will highlight every time you might have accidentally used second person you. I did not use it accidentally in this, but if you did, it will show you that. You have to use MLA paper format for this, otherwise there'll be a deduction in the points for the grade, and it directs you to the page in your Bedford Handbook that shows you the guidelines and what yours should look like. Titles. Don't just call it literacy narrative. Don't just call it writing experience 1. That is super boring and defeats the purpose of a title. It needs to be original and specific to your story. It doesn't have to be super creative or cute or anything, though I do enjoy that. I'm not going to lie. It just needs to be specific to your story. If you have taken this class before with someone else, you may not submit work that you previously submitted for that class or previous attempt. I cannot accept that and will not accept that. You have to start all over again from scratch. And of course, any generative AI or outside stuff will result in a grade of 0. So don't do it, please, and thank you. Now you know. You've been warned. Okay, so the module. Course content. So these are those same instructions that we just looked at, and we like to house the instructions both in the assignment itself, but also separately as a document, because when you go into an assignment submission spot, which is in a different folder, that counts as an attempt, and you only get one attempt. So we want to make sure that you have access to the instructions well before you ever try to go in and attempt the assignment. You've got some examples of literacy narratives to read, narrative topic ideas, brainstorming techniques. You're going to do an assignment based on this, a narrative techniques presentation, which you're also going to do an assignment based on this as well, where you have to talk about the specific techniques described in this presentation as part of a discussion board where you're going to talk about former student literacy narratives that you're going to choose from. And some stuff about the sentence level issues that students tend to face with literacy narratives. One being staying consistent with verb tense, not switching back and forth between past and present tense. So there's some content on that. And you're also going to be doing some punctuation quizzes in this module. And so there's some materials to help you brush up on those skills and some practice quizzes as well that you can take as many times as you want to, and it will tell you which ones you got right and wrong and why. And so you are not required to do the practice quizzes, but before you do the graded ones, might not be a bad idea to practice first and just see where your weak areas are to work on. You're also going to do another writing experience in this module. Basically, you are going to formally revise the first literacy narrative that you turned in. So to revise means to look again, and it's a really, really important part of the writing process. So you're going to revise the first writing experience that you turned in to me using the feedback from me to make any necessary improvements. That's the only way to improve and get better. So you're going to look at all kinds of different things that I have pointed out to you and make all of those fixes, big and small, and submit it again for another grade. So again, those fixes may be what we call global changes, so big picture changes, content, development, organization, details, or it may be sentence level stuff, so grammar issues, punctuation issues, spelling, maybe word choices, or most likely it's going to be a mixture of both. And you're also going to write a reflection paragraph of at least 5 sentences after doing this revision, and you're going to separately attach that so that it doesn't accidentally seem like it's part of your story. And you're going to answer these questions for me in that reflection about the experience and what you learned and what you're going to do differently and all that kind of stuff. So just really the only criteria for success on this one is, did you address everything, correct everything that I pointed out to you? Did you sufficiently develop the reflection paragraph and answer all the questions I had for you? And then the rest is pretty much the same as what you had for the first one. Assignments in Module 1. So again, there's quite a few assignments that are all tailored toward the larger picture of the literacy narrative. So again, you're going to read some example, or you're going to pick one former student example of a literacy narrative that was submitted last semester that was good, and you're going to talk about it on the discussion board using the kinds of terminology and explanations that I give you in the narrative techniques presentation, which is linked again in here. You are going to do a journal where you're brainstorming for for your own literacy narrative using techniques that are talked about in that course content. You're going to submit a draft of your introduction paragraph for your literacy narrative for feedback before turning in the big one, the full literacy narrative writing experience. So you're just turning in the introduction paragraph, and there are some guidelines and instruction on, okay, what should go in that introduction paragraph. So you're just going to post the introduction for feedback from your classmates. That's it. Do not post the entire thing. We don't want to read it yet. And then you have to reply to one other person's paragraph with some feedback, and I've got some pretty specific things I want you to talk about in that reply. One thing you're not doing is pointing out sentence level errors like grammar and spelling, because that's not your job to do. Maybe you are a professional editor already. I don't know, but I doubt it. All right, Midnight Library. So you're going to go ahead and get started with reading the Midnight Library. The writing assignments for that don't start until Module 2, but you need to be pretty far along in the book to be able to do those assignments. So we are starting now. Your first reading quiz on the first 60 pages of the book is the 12th. So plan accordingly. If you are someone who needs time to read that many pages, make sure you've got the time you need to do that. And then the following week, you've got a quiz on the next roughly 60 pages. Those punctuation quizzes that we talked about. And yeah. So let's look at the 26W, the O12 course, and see what you're doing in there for Module 1. So you have some course content in here as well. And again, you've got the course plans that tell you what you need to be doing for each. And before we leave, I'm going to show you a handy document that I made that kind of gives you a big picture of both course plans at a glance that you can use to help you stay on track moving forward. You're welcome. You've got some stuff about the reading process, purpose and audience, vocabulary strategies, and you should go ahead and look at the vocabulary project assignment sheet. That's one of the more major assignments for this class. And it's not due until week 8, but it's something where you need to be thinking about it as you're reading the Midnight Library because it's based on that. Some other videos and PowerPoints to assist you. And then in terms of assignments, here's where you're going to access your Achieve assignments for the module. Right? You just go right in there and they're listed with the due dates there. You've got an activity on previewing the Midnight Library that you're going to do sort of before you really dig in on the reading. You're going to have a little practice with telling a story. This story needs to be about a scar that you got. It could either be a physical scar, like the time I dropped a steak knife on my foot while I was in the kitchen, and it was a huge bloody mess, and my 5-year-old was trying to keep him calm, like it's fine. There's blood, just the amount of blood was unbelievable, and I ended up having to have a couple of stitches. I'm fine, but I do have a neat little scar on the top of my foot and a crazy story behind that. So it could be a physical one like that or an emotional scar, but either way it needs to be told using vivid details and in chronological order, meaning based on time. This happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, but a little more exciting than that. You're going to get some practice with supporting examples, using sentence types, using different sentence patterns. And you're going to do an activity on topic sentences and supporting details, because this is something that students struggle with quite a bit when it comes to developing and structuring their writing assignments. So that is all there to help you do well in the 101 class in the Module 1. Okay, well, the document. So this, like I said, is an at a glance of both classes. It has been color coded. Everything for the O12 is in this kind of powder blue, and everything in the 101 course that you need to be keeping up with is in the yellow. So this way you can, instead of having we have to give you 2 course plans because it's 2 separate courses. We're required to do that. But I thought it might be helpful to kind of smush them together for you and color code it this way so that you can have this to just quickly reference and know what you need to do each week for both classes. So keep this handy, maybe print it out if you have the ability to do that, but if nothing else, have it close by for your reference throughout the semester. And I will post this in the announcement for this week. If you have any questions, let me know, but I look forward to working with you in this module and the modules to come. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.